What's going on, everybody? I hope y'all are doing well mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm here dressed differently than what I'm wearing in the rest of this video, simply because since I've spoken about this topic and since I've edited the video on this topic, there have been some sizable developments and sizable enough for me to feel that they needed to be included in the intro of this video. So, ever since everything went on with Kyrie Irving, he has issued an official statement, a joint statement with the Brooklyn Nets. There has also been a statement issued by Adam Silver, and there has also been media coverage and media conversations with Kyrie about everything or about recently what's gone on. So I'm going to breeze through this as quickly as possible because the video is already close to 45 minutes and I don't want to fucking push it even longer. I'm already starting to do that because I'm long-winded. So the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, and the Anti-Defamation League issued a joint statement. In addition to this statement, Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets will each donate $500,000 towards causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance in our communities. The Nets and Kyrie will work with the ADL, a nonprofit organization devoted to fighting anti-Semitism and all types of hate that undermine justice and fair treatment for every individual. This is an effort to develop educational programming that is inclusive and will comprehensively combat all forms of anti-Semitism and bigotry. Now, the post itself is quite lengthy, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will link to it down below in the description. I will link to the tweet so you guys can check it out for yourselves. But I want to talk about Kyrie's um, statement here. He says, quote, "I oppose all forms of hatred and oppression and stand strong with communities that are marginalized and impacted every day. I am aware of the negative impact of my post towards the Jewish community, and I take responsibility. I do not believe everything said in the documentary was true or reflects my morals and principles. I am a human being learning from all walks of life, and I intend to do so with an open mind and a willingness to learn. So, for my family and I, we meant no harm to any group, race, or religion of people and wish to only be a beacon of truth and light." There is also a quote here from Sam Zussman, the chief executive of BSE Global, the parent company to the Brooklyn Nets and the Barclays Center. Um, Notice that there was no formal apology from Kyrie Irving. There was also no formal apology when he spoke to the media. I have some quotes that Nick Friedel took as well. He did accept responsibility and, did I guess kind of denounce some of the things that were said, but it didn't go far enough. He should have apologized for the entire situation, but I guess this is just another look into how he feels about some of these topics and how he really, I guess, doesn't feel sorry for I guess he just really doesn't feel all too sorry, and whether he just doesn't understand or he really just doesn't want to apologize, that's something that nobody besides us knows. There is also, of course, this statement from Adam Silver that says Kyrie made a reckless decision to post a link to a film containing deeply offensive anti Semitic material. While we appreciate the fact that he agreed to work with the Nets and the ADL to combat anti Semitism and other forms of discrimination, I am disappointed that he has not offered an unqualified apology and more specifically denounced the vile and harmful content contained in the film he chose to publicize. I will be meeting with Kyrie in person next week to discuss the situation. This is, I totally, I wholeheartedly agree here. This whole situation has been very disappointing, very frustrating, and it ultimately just fucking sucks really bad. That's the only way that I can articulate it. Now, this is courtesy of Nick Friedel. The question he posed was, with the benefit of time over the last week, are you sorry for the pain your posts caused people? Kyrie responds, I take my responsibility for posting that. Some things were questionable in there, untrue. Like I said in the first time you guys asked me when I was sitting on that stage, I don't believe everything that everybody posts. It's a documentary, so I take my responsibility. Again, this is a half-assed apology. That's what it is. He could have just said, "Yes, I apologized." Even if he didn't, he could have just humored everybody, but so be it. Um, I felt necessary to include all of this just because it's it's a new development that was worth talking about. Before the video does begin, I do want to just mention there was one part when I was talking about it on the podcast and that I included in the video when I said that I don't like Kyrie Irving I don't know why I worded it that way. I was live. I fucked up. I apologize for that. What I should have said was that I don't like how he's behaving in this circumstance. I don't like how he's behaving in this situation. I do believe, and I don't, this definitely did not come across in the video. I do believe that Kyrie is a, I do believe that he I think Nick Wright said it best. I'm not even going to try to come up with my own take, but Nick Wright said that his heart is in the right place. But this was a gross miscalculation and something that never should have happened. I did come across as quite a hater in this video, and I really don't want to be perceived as that. I think Kyrie fucked up. I do believe that he is re he is able to be rehabilitated in this instance so long as he works with the right people. I just wanted to come and address that proactively. I'm not necessarily walking back any of my takes because what I feel is still how I feel. I still have the same belief towards him with just like me saying that I don't like him. I don't like him in this instance, and I do believe that this is a learning experience so long as he wants it to be. So with that, this video is quite long-winded. If you don't want to sit around for the entire 45 minutes, I totally understand it. Just know that I'm deeply frustrated. I'm deeply disappointed in Kyrie Irving. I do feel that he has the possibility to change, but it's not going to be something that happens overnight, and it's also not going to be easy for him to regain the trust that he's lost. So with all that said, thank you guys so very much. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm, subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you don't miss when I post, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's been a very, very difficult time being a Brooklyn Nets fan. Basically for the last 2 weeks or so, just everything going on the court, which I will get to, but also everything that's, pardon me, but also everything that's gone on off the court with Mr. Kyrie Irving himself. I'm sure everybody knows. I don't have to summarize the situation. Kyrie is seemingly an anti-Semite. Now, I say seemingly because although he didn't come out and say anything anti-Semitic, he promoted, or I say promoted, he posted about this fucking dog shit, super anti-Semitic, super homophobic documentary novel on Twitter the other day. And then not only that, doubled down on posting this piece of fucking garbage. So the anti-Semitic allegations are looking pretty serious for young Kyrie Irving. And this, of course, is an even bigger story for two reasons. One, it's on the tails of Kyrie suffering from like a seemingly horrifying bout of mental illness and just going on a way just like he is so over the top anti-Semitic, talking about the Jewish controlled media, this, that, whatever, like being just a really explicit douchebag around this topic. Kyrie has not come out and said anything crazy like Kanye West, but like his actions, his actions are not helping him beat the anti-Semite allegations. So I'm just gonna make it clear from the jump. This piece of, I don't even know what to fucking call it. This documentary, this book has a word in it, and this word comes up on multiple occasions that I, as a white person, do not feel comfortable saying. It is the N word stylized with the O at the end, pluralized OES. Also, black in Spanish is the word that they use here. I'm not going to say it because I don't feel comfortable saying it. That's just me. So I might just skip over that word entirely. But this was happening all throughout the weekend and all throughout the Nets games, I think against Dallas and against Indiana. And Kyrie had kind of like, he didn't have a meltdown during the post-game presser after losing to the Pacers, but he was very standoffish. He was just a huge dickhead about this whole situation. And I think one thing that we need to get out of the way is that Kyrie is not an intellectual. He is not an enlightened thinker. I don't know if he thinks of himself this way or if he tries to like posture himself as this way. He's a guy. He's just a regular dude. He's an athlete. That is where his area of expertise lies in. He is a basketball player first and foremost. Now, he's all into learning. He's all into about absorbing information from all kinds of sources. Now, this is the same type of issue that someone like Joe Rogan ran into, right? And it led to people being like, Joe Rogan is so open-minded that his brain fell out of his head. Because when you are just absorbing all kinds of information and not critically thinking and analyzing and breaking down this information, you just become like turn into a sponge. Like your brain begins to turn into mush. And one thing that makes it even worse is that if you're in a situation where you're not having people constantly push back on these thoughts, like you don't have family members or friends pushing back on these thoughts that you have, you one aren't like you're not able to realize that you're just talking out of your ass, and two, it lessens your ability to think critically and to debate your points, because guys like Joe Rogan, all of these pseudo intellectuals, people like Jordan Peterson as well, and although Kyrie may not be a pseudo intellectual, I'm certainly not afraid to lump him in that category just from how he portrays himself and how he acts. They don't debate any of their points. They don't know how to debate their points. They're always positioning themselves to speak to people who are uneducated on these topics. They are preying on people who are downtrodden, upset, angry at the world, people who are vulnerable and who are more likely to absorb these kinds of ideologies, and then people who are just also uneducated on the source material. And this is a big thing that I've really come to fucking despise with Kyrie, just how he handles himself when people push back on him, not necessarily in a basketball sense. I will get to basketball later on in this episode, but the presser and the presser after the Pacers game, when I think it was Nick Friedel was pushing back on Kyrie, like he had a meltdown. He's like, "Don't dehumanize me. I'm allowed to have these thoughts. I'm a human being. You can't. I didn't commit a crime. I didn't do this. I didn't do that." It's like, Kyrie, that's not the point, man. The point is that when you talk about something, when you're bringing an idea up in a conversation, whether it's in person or on social media, granted, of course, not really the place to debate ideas, but when you're bringing an idea up, you have the burden of proof. You have to be able to argue for this idea that you believe. You can't just say something and then do the defense like I'm just a guy. Like I'm just talking about these things. I'm just bringing it up because you're not contributing anything to the conversation. And it's even more prominent and it's even more uh, dangerous when you're a person who has a large platform, because you're just spreading this idea to millions of people who are then in turn going to continue to spread it, and you don't know where that's going to land. He doesn't ever supply the burden of proof when talking about these kinds of things. He did it when talking about flat earth. He did it when talking about the vaccine, when the easiest well, so I called him a dumbass for his takes on the vaccine, but because his take on the vaccine was that big pharma is trying to inject microchips into members of the black community and like form this kind of I don't remember what he said exactly, but he thought that people were being microchipped by the vaccines. And it's like, Kyrie, if you don't want to get the vaccine, just say that historically the medical industry has not been charitable, has not been kind to people of color. You could bring up the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. And listen, if you're a black person or a person of color who's skeptical of the United States healthcare system, I mean, I that's a totally valid criticism of it. I still think that, it would have been smart to get the vaccine, but that is an idea that isn't so far fetched. But he doesn't bring those up. He just talks in vague platitudes. He does the thing where he's like, I'm a lover of human beings. I'm an enjoyer of all religions. I embrace all forms of life. And it's like, no, you don't do that. Because if you were as loving as you were, and you were as adamant about learning as much as possible, you wouldn't regurgitate information or put information out into the world that is blatantly anti Semitic and blatantly homophobic, and also, ironically enough, dehumanizing to Jewish people. You claim that you don't want to be dehumanized. And listen, I don't like Kyrie Irving. I don't like enjoy his whole off the court persona, but I don't want to see him dehumanized either. I don't want people like making fun of him. I mean, I'm going to call him a dumbass because he's acting like a dumbass, but the appropriate course of action here is to try to educate him on why what he's saying is harmful. That's really all I got to say on him as like a quote unquote intellectual, I guess, is that he's not. He's a basketball player. Okay? You should not be getting your information on these types of complex topics that like these ancient historical topics, these theological topics, you shouldn't be getting them from Kyrie Irving. And I think another thing that is worth noting is I don't know if Kyrie is like a black Israelite or anything, but it's always good to be kind of skeptical of fringe and extremist religious ideologies, whether it is like jihadism, Muslim extremism, Christian nationalism, the Ku Klux Klan. I remember I was on the Black Israelite Wikipedia page, and there was a former Grand Wizard of the KKK who was like, they're the opposite of, or it's like, they are the, what the fuck did he say? Tom Metzger, a former Grand Wizard of the KKK, once remarked to the Southern Poverty Law Center, they're the black counterparts of us. If you are a person who ever identifies with an ideology that is even remotely close to the KKK, you need to do some sort of self evaluation here. Now, we're going to go ahead, we're going to jump into just some of the things he said. This article is courtesy of the New York Daily News. This was written by Christian Winfield, who covers the Nets for the New York Daily News. Nets star Kyrie Irving doesn't believe he did anything wrong by posting Wake Up Black America on his social media channels, a move that was met with much backlash because of its anti-Semitic implications, even public backlash from Nets owner Joe Tsai. Irving, after the Nets lost their fourth straight game, said he does not agree with the notion that he was posting anti-Semitic material. Quote, I embrace all walks of life, and you see it on all my platforms. I talk to all races, all cultures, all religions, and my response would be, it's not about educating yourself on what Semitism is or what anti-Semitism is. It's really about learning the root words or where these come from and understanding that this is an African heritage that is also belonging to the people. Africa is in it, whether you want to dismiss it or not. So the claims of anti-Semitism and who are the chosen people of God, we go into these religious conversations, and it's a big no-no. I don't live my life that way. I grew up in a melting pot, and I say the melting pot of all races, white, black, red, yellow, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and you see the way I live my life now. I'm not here to be divisive so they can push their agenda. I don't want to say they because I'm not identifying any one group or race of people, but I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community, and what I post does not mean that I support everything that's been said or everything that's been done, or that I'm campaigning for anything. All I do is post things for our people in my community and those that it's going to impact. Anyone else that has criticism that obviously wasn't meant for them. Posting can be dangerous. And we're also in this weird time where people view posting as like an act of something. It's not. You're on Twitter, bro. There are memes and pornography on Twitter as well. Twitter is not really a place to have these complex discussions, these complex historical, religious discussions. But if you are going to post something, it's that old thing that people put in their bio where it's like retweets do not necessarily mean endorsements. And I understand that. But if you're going to post something, again, you need to supply some level of dialogue for the conversation. You need to give a take on it. You need to explain why you thought this piece of media was good. Like Kyrie just posted a link and called it a day. He didn't do anything else. He posted a link. That was it. It has since been deleted, but he didn't supply anything to the conversation. And then he's going to go on his high horse and talk about how I'm being prosecuted for my thoughts. I didn't do anything illegal. I'm not here to be divisive. And then he's also deflecting by saying it's not about what Semitism is and anti-Semitism is, when that is literally the entire crux of the conversation. Is like, that is literally what the book is arguing in favor of. The book is arguing in favor of anti-Semitism. I'll get to some excerpts from it in a little bit. The glue guys did the glue guys who cover the Nets for The Athletic, they actually read the book and posted some excerpts, and as they mentioned, it is way worse than the original Rolling Stone article made it out to be. Like, even when I saw it, I was like, okay, I don't I gotta see like someone post some pieces of this book before I jump to conclusions. Just especially knowing the media cycle that we land in. Maybe it was something that was like implicit and innocuous and it just didn't register with Kyrie, but that is most certainly not the case. So just to continue on here, the Rolling Stone described the movie book as espousing ideas in line with more extreme factions of the Black Hebrew Israelites, which have a long history of misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and especially anti-Semitism. Irving denied he did anything wrong by posting the documentary because it's available on Amazon Prime. It's 2022. It's on Amazon, Irving said. Whether you want to watch it or not is up to you. There's things being posted every day. I'm no different from the next human being, so don't treat me any different. You guys come in here and make up this powerful influence that I have and say you can't post that. Why not? Why not? Everybody posts everything else. You saw the N-word going up on Twitter, right? I don't hear uproar over that. I'm not hearing people being divisive of what's going on, this or that. I'm not comparing the Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing the whites to blacks. I'm not doing that. That conversation is dismissive and it constantly revolves around the rhetoric of who are the chosen people of God. I'm not here to argue over a culture or a person or a religion and what I believe and what they believe. This is what is here. It's on a public platform. Did I do anything illegal? Did I do anything illegal? Did I hurt anybody? Did I harm anybody? Am I going out and saying that I hate one specific group of people? So out of all the judgment that people got out of me posting without talking to me, and I respect what Josai said, but there has a lot to do without ego or pride, with how proud I am to be of African heritage, but also to be living as a free black man here in America, knowing the historical complexities for me to get here. So it just ends there. I don't understand. Kyrie, again, refuses to address like the actual problem here. He's not saying that he made a mistake in posting it. He's not apologizing for it. So if we know what's in this documentary, in this book, and you are not taking back what you said, we have to believe that you believe everything that's in it. That's the only course of action. That's the only reasonable response that someone would have in observing this situation. And to his point where he says it's on Amazon, it's on a public platform, yes, I agree. I don't think that consuming certain types of media or reading certain types of books are inherently wrong. It's how you respond to the information that is in that piece of media. If you watched this documentary and said this is so fucking disgusting and hateful, I regret watching it. That's different. Okay, I was at the library a couple months ago, and you know what I saw on the shelf? Mein Kampf. I saw Hitler's manifesto in the library, and I'm like, holy shit, this is insane. But then again, you don't want to be censoring certain types of media because it's only going to encourage people to seek it out. And also, when you censor something, they might be more willing to defend it. Okay, it's like that. It's like you tell your kid that smoking weed will kill you. What are they going to do? They're going to go and smoke pot. It's just like it's the natural way that humans behave. Committing a thought crime or having a thought or reading Mein Kampf is not inherently dangerous. It's what you do with the information that is in that book. 99% of people are going to read Mein Kampf and be like, wow, Hitler was fucking crazy. I mean, we knew this, but just watching this is not the issue. The issue is that Kyrie is doubling down on all of the anti-Semitic, homophobic tropes that are in here. He also is kind of deflecting in his response. Everyone posts everything else. Oh, also, don't you guys come in here and make up this powerful influence that I have. You cannot post that. Why not? Kyrie does have influence. If he doesn't think he's influential, he's an idiot. He's dumb. You can't have 10 million followers on Twitter. You can't be one of the premier players in the NBA and think that you don't have influence. That is just negligent. That is a negligent way to live your life as a prominent person. I'm not of the belief that we should view celebrities as role models, but they have to understand that they do, their words carry weight. Their actions carry weight. They have to recognize that. They have to be more calculated with what they say, what they do, and what they post, especially if you are someone who is a prominent athlete and you have a younger audience. The NBA has a very young audience, okay? Probably the youngest of all four major sports. And young people are more susceptible to disinformation. They are not their brains are not evolved enough. They are in like ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. They do not understand these nuances. So he should be more aware. I think that it's wrong for him to think that he doesn't have a platform. He's also kind of deflecting here when he says, you saw the N word going up on Twitter, right? I don't hear uproar over that. Meanwhile, that is still an ongoing conversation. What you can and can't say on Twitter is an ongoing conversation. The lack of hate speech laws in the United States is an ongoing conversation. People are having these discussions. But since Kyrie isn't having them in his immediate circle, he can brush it off and say that no one's talking about that. Meanwhile, LeBron literally fucking tweeted about how the skyrocketing use of the N word is unacceptable. Like, Kyrie is just not, he's fundamentally not understanding the situation. I don't know if it's just, I don't know if it's intentionally, I don't know if he's being ignorant to everything, but this is what happens when you have someone who is who is trying to appear as some sort of intellectual, but yet they don't have the ability to substantively push back. They collapse, they shrivel up, they break down because they're not conditioned to actually having debates on these sorts of topics. And no, he didn't do anything illegal. I don't think he should be arrested for this. I'm not really sure what the level of punishment should be either, because like the NBA historically does not really care about what the fuck their players do off the court. I mean, they might hand out a suspension here and there, but let's not forget that Karl Malone fathered a baby with a 13-year-old girl and then went on to have a very lengthy NBA career. They then further moved on with the conversation. Irving also said he does not agree with Alex Jones' stance that Sandy Hook victims were crisis actors, but he stood by the 20-year-old clip he posted on September 15th of Jones promoting a new world order, a conspiracy theory about secret societies and anti-government, which also has roots in anti-Semitism. All of these tropes, all of these anti-Semitic stereotypes, they all come back to Jewish people being thieves, Jewish people being greedy, Jewish people being controlling, when it is simply not true. It is not the Jewish people as a whole. It is capitalism. It is the capitalists who are controlling the government. It is the capitalists whose influence leads to the type of society that we have here in the United States. It is not one singular group of people. It is not one singular race of people. It is not a singular religion of people. It is the capitalist organization of the economy working as it was designed to. But again, that is another level of this conversation that makes it increasingly more complex, and that people who think like Kyrie Irving aren't willing to think about because they are also kind of like cooked by capitalism, right? I'm sure Kyrie loves capitalism. I'm sure that he enjoys being a multimillionaire. And listen, get your money, man. I'm not going to hate on you for that. But it is just like he's, again, being unreasonable. He's being unreasonable in every sense of the word here. He later says, that was a few weeks ago. I don't stand by Jones's position narrative court case that he had with Sandy Hook or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma or the parents that had to relive trauma or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post that Jones did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies, the occult, and it's true. I wasn't identified. What do you mean it's true, brother? The secret society is the cabal of capitalists. That is the not so secret society. I wasn't identifying with anything being a campaign for Jones or anything. It's just it's just here are posts and it's funny. It's actually hilarious. He's doing that thing where it's like, I'm not mad, I'm actually laughing, or I'm not owned, you're owned. It's actually hilarious because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see. It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist. Again, he is so the way that his brain works is so fascinating because he doesn't see that people are singling out on that one post because it's ridiculous. It's insane. Kyrie sometimes does make good posts. I've said this in the past and I will continue to say it. Kyrie, as bad as his takes are, his connection to the Native American community, to the indigenous community, the work he does with them, the promotion he does of the Native Americans, of anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, those are good. I am 100% in alignment. Something that doesn't get talked about enough is the genocide of the Native Americans both in North and South America. Imperialism, bad. So he does have good takes. And when you consistently have, takes that people might agree with, if someone criticizes one of your takes, if your initial defense is to be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." If you're not open to the criticism, that's a fundamental mistake in your thinking. When we see this clip of Alex Jones and we take exception to it, it's because you you shouldn't be posting that. You shouldn't be posting that unless you're finding a way to push back against it, especially when there are good things that you talk about. Like Alex Jones does a lot of this. Alex Jones, for as insane as he is, he has been right about certain things. He misses significantly more than he hits, but these elite level conspiracy theorists gain this massive platform. And I'm not, putting Kyrie on the level of Alex Jones. Do not get it twisted, okay? He's dumb. He's not that dumb. But Alex Jones rose to prominence because he was he had good takes. And then when you have good takes and then you try and you miss in this information like Hillary Clinton is a lizard person and the frogs are the water's turning the frogs gay. And when you have takes like that, because you've been right before, people are like, "Oh, this guy is kind of, this guy might be onto something." And that's how people fall victim to this line of thinking. On his way off the podium, Irving said of the outrage of the post, "I wish we felt the same about black reproductive rights and all of the things that actually matter instead of what I'm posting." Another thing that that thinkers like Kyrie Irving do is they only think in one idea at a time. They don't recognize the fact that humans have the brain power to worry about multiple issues at the same time. You can care about what the Supreme Court has done to Roe v. Wade. You can care about what states all across this country have done in stripping away the reproductive rights of women. But you can do all of that while still taking exception with the anti-Semitic vitriol that Kyrie is spewing. You're totally capable of doing that. And again, this is rich coming from a guy who claims to be so open to all kinds of information and to perspectives of people from all walks of life. And then to fall back on the defense of like, "Oh, well, there are more important things going on in the world right now." It's like, yeah, Kyrie, there are. We could talk about that. There's an illegal war happening in Ukraine that the United States is not willing to help negotiate a treaty with. There are tens of thousands of people who die every year because they don't have health insurance in this country because this country's healthcare system is fucked up. There is an attack on women's reproductive rights. There is an attack on people's privacy rights as a whole going on. And then there's also people like Kanye and Kyrie going on these anti-Semitic rants or posting about anti-Semitic content on their massive platforms. We can discuss all of these things at the same time, Kyrie. We don't have to limit ourselves to just one idea at a time. Like, you don't have to limit the conversation. And also, him being like, "I wish we felt the same about black reproductive rights." Like, we do, Kyrie. We understand that repealing Roe v. Wade hurts hurts black women, hurts brown women, and poor women all the same. Okay? It impacts these communities. It impacts these communities of color. We understand that. They should be free to make the decisions with their body. It doesn't matter if they're poor, it doesn't matter if they're black, brown, white, whatever. We care about all these issues. We're compassionate to all of these issues. The majority of people do not agree with Roe v. Wade being overturned. People just want you to exhibit some compassion when it comes to the ideas that you talk about, when it comes to the pieces of media that you promote. Have a little compassion. Learn a little bit about how these tropes that have been perpetuated for thousands of years impact these various communities. That's it. Have a little compassion. Irving said he went home to get ready for the Nets matchup against Dallas as part of his usual routine. He wanted to watch a program or show that's education first, that either talks about history or finance, talks about the state of the world because he didn't get it in school. Okay, we get it, Kyrie. The United States public school system does not operate that way. All I did was get 7 hours a day of being indoctrinated and brainwashed on a history that doesn't belong to me or my ancestors. Like, and he's doing that thing where he says something good and something bad simultaneously. There is a whitewashed version of history that is taught in the United States of America. It teaches about American exceptionalism. It teaches about that America has never done anything wrong. It doesn't really give a lot of credence to the civil rights movement. It's not charitable to black issues, to the struggle of the indigenous people, of immigrants, of people of color. It is a whitewashed version of history. I understand that. Exhibit that same level of compassion, Kyrie. That's all we're asking. Irving said he searched the meaning of his name on Google and found that Kyrie translates to a title given to Christ, or in Hebrew, Yahweh. He said he then typed Yahweh into Amazon Prime and found the documentary that, bro, what the fuck? What is this rabbit hole he went down? Oh, man. He later said history is not supposed to be hidden from anybody, and I'm not a divisive person when it comes to religion. He said before acknowledging he watched the documentary, I watched it and read books. I had a lot of time last year to read a lot, to read a whole bunch, good and bad, about the truth of our world. He's being divisive. Does he not recognize this? And then also, he's doing this thing where he reads too much. Okay, guys, it is possible to read too much. Because again, you become too open-minded and your brain falls out of your head. Irving's comment and explanation came after Sai tweeted. Sai's tweet is on his Twitter. Joe Tsai's like, I can't wait. I must sit down with Kyrie in person and talk to him. Bitch, pick up the phone. What do you mean you have to sit down and talk to him in person? Pick up the fucking phone, man. Reach out to him. Be like, hey, are you good? What's going on? Is everything okay? Talk to me. That's the end of the article. Now, trigger warning, nasty shit is about to be said in these tweets. These are courtesy of the Glue Guys, who I already mentioned. They are not friends of this show, but I think they make great content. For the video watchers, what you're about to see on screen is very jarring. These are excerpts of the book that Kyrie was posting about. One of the chapters in this book is homosexuality as population control for blacks? Question mark. It goes on. Get labbed in. Is Satan rocking us to sleep in a swaddling blanket with a baby bottle full of homosexual juice? When are we going to see the immortality that is going on? Recognize that this book is non-historical. It is theological. I don't know if theological is the right word. It is not a historical recounting of anything. It is basically just like religious drivel. So, if the Jews in fact control the media, music, and magazines/news publications, then is this the reason why we are seeing an increase in the homosexual movement in America on TV? How do you make that leap? This is literally the author is mentally ill, I think. I'm gonna keep it straight up. How do you arrive at this? And even like I looked at some of the reviews on Amazon, and some people were like, this book was not very insightful. It's a lot of dribble, a lot of historical inaccuracies, and of course you can't mention that because these brainlets on Twitter will be like, oh well, yeah, it's historically inaccurate because it's not what the mainstream narrative is. But chances are, like if you're dealing with history and you're dealing with science and stuff like that, there's a reason why stuff is not mainstream. There's a reason why alternative theories don't make it to the mainstream, and it's because they're insane. And it's because there is nothing to back it up. Now, this was the wake-up call for me. They were talking about the documentary quoting Hitler. The documentary that Kyrie posted about promoted Adolf Hitler. All I'm going to say is, if you ever find yourself in agreement with Hitler on anything, you're in the wrong. Put the phone down, put the book down, and just close your eyes. Take a deep breath and think, how the fuck did I arrive at this conclusion? This excerpt reads, America has God's jewelry. The Americans have the jewels of God. The Americans have stolen God's precious jewels. What do you mean as precious jewels? The soldier asked. Hitler said, America has stolen the Jews, the jewels of God, his jewelry. The N word. They are the true Hebrews. What a foolish move and direct challenge to God. And they plan on moving these false white Jews into a state of Israel. He continues, because the white Jews know that the N words are the real children of Israel, and to keep America secret, the Jews will blackmail America. They will extort America. Their plan for world domination won't work if the if black people know who they are. Believed to be said by Adolf Hitler in a secret document before his death in an undisclosed location. We don't know if Hitler actually said this or not. All I'm saying is, if you are like even adjacent to agreeing with Hitler, let's forget about believing him. If you're adjacent to believing him, seek help. Again, close your eyes, take a breath, and think, how did I get here? What the fuck went wrong with me? What went wrong? Like, you should not be agreeing with these words. This is indefensible behavior from Kyrie. And it's kind of crazy that Rolling Stone didn't mention this. It's bizarre because, like, from the jump, we would have recognized that it's fucking insane. And then people are like, "Oh my god, you just want to bring down Kyrie Irving." Like, I don't understand how you can defend us bringing down a guy who's made $100 million, probably more than that. You can't bring him down. There's nothing that you can do to like deplatform him. You can't bankrupt Kyrie Irving. There's so much misinformation being thrown around here. There is so much historical inaccuracies. It's it's insane. It's insane. The Glue Guys also said that they quoted Henry Ford as well. Henry Ford had a special relationship with Hitler that many people don't know about. There's also, I think, another thing that I find to be quite interesting in like the whole. I don't even know if I should take it there, but like the enslavement of African Americans was not perpetuated by the Jews like many people think. It was white people, it was white Protestants and white Catholics who facilitated the slave trade. I mean, many of the founding fathers were Protestant. I think they were Protestant. They were Protestant or Catholic. A lot of them owned slaves. Like that kind of just dismissed the whole argument right there. But at least in regards to what this does to Kyrie's long term, to his future with the Nets, I don't know where it goes from here, man. I got to keep it a whole stack. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't even want to think about it because there is really no way that this undoes itself. I don't think the Nets trade him because I don't think it's going to be possible to trade him. He is a legitimate headache. He is a destructive personality in the locker room. Regardless of how you feel about NBA players being professional, I don't know how you work through this. I don't know like what the vibes are in the locker room right now. And Steve Nash said something that they've grown accustomed to Kyrie's bullshit, and he's like granted immunity, but like that's not how you handle someone who's like this. That's a yes man mentality. And I feel that there are a lot of famous people who have a ton of yes men surrounding them because they don't trust a lot of people. And they're right to not trust a lot of people because people always want something from you when you're famous, when you have money, when you have power. They want something. But that's a yes man ass behavior from this organization. You can't allow him to just run amok like this. There has to be some sort of punishment. I don't know if, the Nets even have to do anything because he might, I don't know, he might be out of the NBA after this year. I think he's just too much of a headache regardless. But like the double-edged sword, and it's really not a double-edged sword, but the what makes this decision for Brooklyn so much more difficult is that Kyrie is fucking balling right now. And that's the worst part about it, is that if he were playing bad, we could get jokes off. We could bully him and say that, anti-Semitic Kyrie is the worst NBA player in the league. Get jokes like that. But this dude is like arguably the Nets' best player offensively. He's looked decent on defense. I mean, he's scoring like close to 28 points a game or something. And I'm not of the opinion that if the Nets were winning, this would be less of an issue. I think it'd be a tremendous issue either way, just because read the fucking room, Kyrie. You live in Brooklyn. You play in Brooklyn. There are a lot of Jewish people in Brooklyn. There's a lot of gay people in New York City. It would be an issue. It will be an issue. It should be an issue. I- But I don't know I don't know what the appropriate punishment is. And I'm not saying that because I'm afraid to punish him because people are gonna be like, "Oh, cancel culture, cancel culture." Just like shut the fuck up if you believe that you can cancel Kyrie Irving. Shut up. You're stupid. God, I don't think that punishing Kyrie and removing him from basketball fixes anything. He needs like to speak to somebody. He needs to speak to an expert on this. He needs to speak on historical. He needs to speak to actual experts. Don't seek out alternative information, guys. Alternative information is always like it's just way too often rooted in hate and bigotry and prejudice, and it's just not good for your mental well-being. If all you're consuming is hateful content, you will become a hateful person. That's the natural progression of being on the internet. If you're someone who is obviously not Kyrie, like Kyrie has plenty to be grateful for, but he's also like, I'm not trying to say that his life is perfect, but so many people nowadays are just downtrodden. They're beaten down by society, and they find themselves in echo chambers that, you know, shift the focus of blame onto other groups of people that aren't connected to these folks in any way. And that sows the seeds of more hatred. And you continue to fall down that rabbit hole. And you continue to read about why Jewish people are the problem. Or if you're white, why black people are the problem. And it's not true. The problem is the current structure of society. The problem that many people face and their lack of fulfillment isn't because of some group of people, it's because of the economic organization of the economy, where you work a job that you fucking despise. You hate your boss because he won't let you take a day off to go to the doctor, or he won't let you take a day off to go care for an elderly relative. Like, that is the guy who you should hate. And all of the people like him, all of the people in power, all of the ultra wealthy, the billionaires, the people who make sure that you live this downtrodden lifestyle, that you aren't able to be fulfilled, that's who you should be angry at. Why Kyrie is acting like this way, I don't know. I hope he seeks help. I hope this situation finds a way to resolve itself. But I'm not so optimistic on the Kyrie situation. I am significantly more optimistic on the Nets situation as a whole on the basketball court.